Welcome to Dreams Inspire Reality Podcast with Tara Darnley, a podcast for creatives looking to turn their dreams into reality with practical strategic steps from everyday people and entrepreneurs who are living their best lives possible.
Hi guys, so on today's episode, we have a wonderful guest, Marcel Benson, who is a 29-year-old Morehouse alum and a former Black enterprise modern man. Marcel Benson founded Bensonwatch Watch Company out of his sheer passion for timepieces. His vision is to use his elegant timepieces to encourage the masses to spend their time doing what they love. Welcome, Marcel. How are you?
I'm doing well, Tara. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for taking the time out for me with your super busy schedule.
Absolutely.
So
I think things like this are, extremely important. This is why we all get up in the morning.
Yes, so true. So as you may know, I started this podcast because I wanted to reach entrepreneurs, whether they're just starting, whether they're well established, but just to connect with the everyday entrepreneurs to find out the ins and outs and just to inspire other entrepreneurs on the uprising, up and coming rather. So I'm going to jump right in there. What is your dream? What is the dream for your business? What is your dream for your life? And are you living that dream?
Well, I'll start with the last question. I'm absolutely living my dream. My dream was to create a company that allowed me to, make a living from something that I was passionate about, but also encourage people in the process. So I'm absolutely living my dream. To expand on that, I would like to, improve that, our current state. We've grown quite a bit, but I would like Benson to eventually be, a household name, and people that consume or come into contact with the product, essentially, share the same belief that we have.
I love that. I love that. And, a lot of us dreamers or entrepreneurs out there, we lack the resources, the drive, and the capital to turn our dreams into reality. How were you able to turn your dreams into reality?
Yeah, you have to kind of just have a can-do attitude, right? It's, everything is an adjustment of your attitude away. So, your perspective, everything is a change in perspective away from you achieving that, that thing. So, if you have a business that you want to start and money is what you keep telling yourself the issue is, it'll always be the issue. But what you need to do is just, start putting together like a plan to, solving that issue. So when I started Benson, I didn't necessarily, have money to pour into the business. So, I just leveraged resources that were made available to me. So I'm pretty sure people have heard of crowdfunding. When we started, like I said, I had no idea, where the money was going to come from. I just knew that I would need about $10,000 to get started. So I started just kind of like, doing my research and scouring the internet, trying to find different ways to come up with with $10,000. And then I came across the platform Kickstarter, which is essentially, for those who do not know, a crowdfunding platform that allows you to raise money for a cause or a business by bringing friends, family, and the public together to donate to that common cause. So I reached out to friends and family members, and just leveraged that platform and was able to raise about a little over 11. I think the exact number was like $11,818 or something like that. So just under $12,000. So we were able to actually exceed the goal, by having a can-do attitude and just finding a way to to get that capital.
I love that. And so for you, you basically proved the market through Kickstarter and proven that, there was a need for your product through Kickstarter because you were
Absolutely.
able to find your first customers there. How was that experience for you? What were the challenges that you faced just like, putting together Kickstarter? Because I know that's a whole lot of work, just putting together a Kickstarter, driving awareness, marketing. How were you able to do that and, get the money?
Yeah. Well, firstly, I'm glad that you said, it's kind of like a proof of concept. And even more so with Kickstarter, because to me, there were different platforms that I could have chosen from. There was GoFundMe, there was Indiegogo, and then Kickstarter. The difference between Kickstarter and those other platforms is that Kickstarter, it pretty much forces you to be successful. So, going back to the proof of concept, I told myself that I would need to raise the money, or I didn't want to do it at all. I would want to hit my goal. I didn't want to do it at all. So with Kickstarter, you don't receive any money unless you actually hit your target goal. So I knew that it was all or nothing. I knew that I had to raise the money. It kind of like I said, forced me to be successful. So with in doing so, like I said, I took the time to just like I said, leverage relationships that I already had, reached out to friends that I haven't talked to in a while, and I let them know that I had this exciting new business that I wanted to start. And you'd be surprised like how many people want to actually like help out. So I told them, I said, hey, this is coming soon. If you know anybody, please share this with them, or let me know so that I can reach out to them. And by those personal emails going out and them reaching out, like the interest started to compound. And then eventually I was able to to raise the money.
I love that. I love that you said you reached out basically to your community, and even those that you did not think were going to help, they were able to help.
Yeah.
And I always talk about that, just having a community, having a tribe that's going to help you push your dreams. So I love that you were able to do that. Let's talk about pricing your product, and like, how are you able to sell? Because I know your product is on, the top end price. Well, not so much, because, define watch for like 15,000, but maybe for the average person who's looking to, purchase a watch, how are you able to convince them at your current price points?
Well, it boils down to to quality, right? They're like you said, they're watches that are that are offered at at many different levels. And what I find is that, a watch says a lot about, a person. So there are different things that are attached to different watches. Obviously, everybody knows about Rolex, so I'll use that. Rolex is telling people, hey, I'm wealthy. I'm classic. I have a Rolex. So I think that the quality is one thing, right? So we guarantee great quality within our price points. We offer like high end aesthetics that you'll only find in $1,000 watches, like our deployant clasps and sapphire crystals that are scratch resistant, handmade dials, like things like that. Those are a given, right? Those are the physical things. But I think people gravitate more towards our why and not necessarily the actual product. So it's a plus to have a great product, but in today's times, there's a million things out there. There are a ton of watch companies. There are a ton of even podcasts. There are a ton of t-shirt companies or whatever. But what draws people into the company is the reason that company has decided to do what it is they do. And I think that when people hear my story, and they see that we are a company that seeks to inspire the masses to live out their true potential and follow their dreams, spend their time doing what they love, I think people just kind of resonate with that. So I think that our story is why we are able to to sell so many watches.
I love that. And that's been across the board. Everyone I've spoken to have said that you can have a great product, but if your story doesn't align with your product, no one is going to buy it. And I like the comparison you made. When someone buys a Rolex, they feel like, hey, I'm wealthy, I've made it. When a person buys a Benson watch, what do you want them to feel? Like, how are they supposed to feel? What's the story behind that?
So a person so it's twofold. So the first thing for the individual, it's usually a person that that believes in themselves, that values time and understands it's how precious it is. Like, it's the one thing that we can neither control or get back, right? So when you're thinking about anything that's important, time has to be the supreme thing. Time is the bridge that carries you from, from one place to, to the next, whether that's getting over something hard or going in the opposite direction. So like our watches are just reminders that, you don't get a whole lot of, a lot of this precious thing. You need to be spending it doing what you love. We have the motto engraved on the back, and it's our belief that, people that buy this share that same belief. On the other hand, we support a lot of causes. There'll be a lot more with our new collection, which I'll probably get into a little later. But currently, we make a watch that supports breast cancer each October. And a person, and this also plays into the whole time should be spent doing what you love thing. We're supporting causes of that pretty much claim the time or take the time away from so many people, and everybody that you can think of has probably experienced this one time or another with somebody in their family or somebody close to them, having gone through either breast cancer or some other form of cancer or some illness where they weren't able to spend their time doing what they love because they just couldn't. So it's our way of like helping fight some of those illnesses. It's essentially our give back. So a person is also a philanthropic or charitable person that purchases a Benson.
I love that, and I love that you have a give back that goes with your brand. So everyone has an idea, right? But sometimes it just is stuck in our head.
Yeah.
How were you able to bring your idea to market? Like, how did you find manufacturers? Like, what were the processes? What were the steps? Like, how did you, find them?
Yeah. There is so much, there's so much beauty in just doing something, just taking action. It's some advice that I got from a mentor, very simple, but it's very powerful. Like a lot of times we kind of stay in our heads about things. Like, we may try to read as many books on a particular thing as possible. We try to, fill ourselves with as much knowledge as possible. We try to make sure things are perfect, when in reality, like it's taking the action that kind of like paves the way. Like you'll make mistakes, if you're smart, you'll have like a mentor, kind of going along the way with you to avoid bigger mistakes. But you're gonna make mistakes, but you have to just get started. Like, to be frank, starting a business is not really hard. It's really just about believing that what you're creating is valuable, and people that take to it. We have access to the internet. I mean, I giggle sometimes because a lot of people are just like, how did you get started? Just with the watches and stuff like that. It's like literally just hop on Google.
Yes.
Hop on Google real quick and type in what it is that you like. A lot of the answers are there. You type in manufacturers, they'll bring up a bunch of manufacturers, abroad. There's a website called Makers Row, for those who thinking about getting into products that want to make them domestically. They have a list of all those manufacturers. You get on the phone with them. You go through the process of vetting them, making sure they meet the requirements of what it is that you're trying to do. You want to make sure that they accept money in a way that's traceable, so that if things were to go wrong, you're not left with the short end of the stick. It's just taking action, and like as you take action and like I said, make mistakes, you'll learn the better way to do certain things. But for those people who have ideas, the biggest piece of advice that I can give you is to stop what you're doing, put that book down, put whatever research you were trying to do. Like, I'm not saying don't do research, but don't get caught up in it, and just take action. Hop on the internet, whatever it is you're trying to do, type it in Google, see what comes up, reach out to people, in blog posts, join communities that are similar to what it is that you're doing. and just get started. Just do.
I love that because I always tell entrepreneurs that, the only thing that separates any successful entrepreneur is execution. You might
Absolutely.
just sit there and you're like, I have this idea. And I get that all the time. Like
All the
moms
time.
come up to me and they're, oh, but how did you do it? What do you mean? Like, and how did you do it? Like, how do you work with 2 kids? And I'm like, because I'm going to separate myself from the doers versus the ones that are just sitting there on the sidelines. Like I have to show my kids that, hey, it's possible. You can do that. Not just constantly saying it. So I love that you just went out there and you did it and you used Google Expert.
Absolutely. Like, I'm not sure if you're familiar with. I'm pretty sure you will. But Jim Rohn, he's like an older motivational speaker. I think he's passed, now, but he's an older motivational speaker, and he used to always say that it's like getting rich is just as easy as not getting rich. So it's literally, it's literally just like deciding to do or deciding not to do. But either way, like you're deciding something.
Exactly.
So, you can either not pursue that, that idea, or like you can every day just do one thing, toward what you're ultimately trying to do.
Exactly.
And just every day make the decision, to do that thing.
That's so true.
And from there, just kind of, like I said, you kind of, build momentum and things kind of start, revealing themselves to you that weren't as clear when you were just in the, the contemplative phase.
Exactly. I totally agree. What are your strengths and your weaknesses in your business today?
Okay, strengths and weaknesses. I would say, that's a really good question. I would say strengths are our ability to kind of like impact impact culture a bit. Like I said, I think it's just our messaging and our belief that kind of attracts like certain people. We also are very good at retaining customers. So, many people that purchase come back and purchase, multiple times. Weakness, maybe wanting to save the world too much. Like I said, we're really big on just like, like giving back and wanting to help. And sometimes that can impact some other things, but I think we're getting a lot better and more strategic with that front as we move forward.
I love that. What was your last business failure and the lesson that you learned from it?
Okay. So this was probably about maybe 2 years ago. Actually kind of piggybacking on the advice that I just gave, your viewers, about not actually vetting the manufacturer like I should. So I was introduced. So the manufacturer that I'm currently using, I was introduced to them. Believe it or not, it's crazy. I was introduced to them by a guy in Australia. I met him through a popular watch blog website. So just going back, like everything that I'm telling you guys to do, I've done, and it works. So I met this guy on a blog site. He actually had a pretty popular watch company in Australia. He introduced me to his his manufacturer, and I wound up not taking this guy's like advice. I was just like, no, I'm going to find my own manufacturer, because I just felt like it was supposed to be harder than just somebody introducing me. So I went and found my own manufacturer, and I didn't vet them. I was just excited that they were willing to do a small order. And first order went well. Then we went back with them, and they only accepted like wire transfer. So like no, I couldn't do PayPal, credit card. There was no way to like recoup my money, if things were to go wrong. So we put a pretty decent order in, and they wind up making off with the money. I'm trying to figure out ways to keep my audience or the customers at ease who had, pre-ordered these pieces. And, lo and behold, I have to return, all of their money after I've already paid money to get the watches. So I lost like twice basically. And, that came from, me just not taking my time and betting and just kind of like looking for the signs, that showed that, this company may not have necessarily been as legitimate as I initially thought. So, my biggest mistake was rushing into getting a manufacturer and not necessarily, seeing what was right in front of me, which is like who I'm using today. They have a great score with, great business score. They deliver, on time. If they do ever make mistakes, they rectify them very quickly. So that was probably my biggest mistake recently in business.
Well, that mistake was a great lesson for us. I could take it apart. Two great points I would like to mention. First of all, like you said, vet the manufacturer you're gonna work with. Instincts, like just use your instincts. Like if you have a gut feeling about something,
absolutely.
Like my core success for Darling & Co. is my intuition. And we don't make decisions without my intuition. And my husband always comes to me. He's like, you know what, whatever you feel, go with it. Because your intuition is always on point. So, use your gut feeling. Like, don't move forward if you feel uncomfortable. And another major thing that you said was, don't wire transfer on the first order. Like, find a ticket. Because once you wire transfer, you can't get your money back. You can't get it back. The bank won't even help you. They're like, you did it. You press the numbers, you did it. So I strongly encourage you, entrepreneurs out there, if you're going to start with orders, start with a small order. Maybe you can PayPal it but definitely I know, and even PayPal could be an issue, but just do a small run. So if you do lose, it's not a big loss. And have everything in writing, like have the factory put in writing. You know what, if I mess up, I'm going to give you back your money, or I'm going to get the product right until, it's to your standards. So those were, unfortunately for you, those were huge mistakes, but I'm thankful for my audience. That's great lessons, to help them move forward.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Absolutely.
What was the most expensive business investment you've made?
Most expensive business investment. Well, I would say probably purchasing an additional order. Just an additional order. It was more than we would normally order, because we had the anticipation of getting into MGM. So, initially it seemed like, okay, we're getting these pieces extra. We don't know if they're going to sell or where they're going to sell, but also wanted to be able to fulfill, this, the MGM, which is, the most recent, I guess win or milestone we've had. So purchasing that in advance of actually having a purchase order from them.
And that's a great way to segue into that. Congrats on MGM. What are some of the major lessons you've learned thus far? And I'm sure there are tons, but like, what would you say is the top 3 lessons you've learned that you didn't anticipate getting into such a huge retail space? The lessons that you just weren't prepared for.
So lessons learned, or just like meaning like mistakes, or just like what I gained from
just what you gained overall that you could share with us. Like what, where sometimes we hear, oh, I want to get into big box retail, but we don't expect, like you said, for example, you had to get extra inventory. So you didn't expect that. But what are some of the things that if you're trying to scale to that level, what are some of the things that we need to prepare ourselves for?
I would definitely say, do your homework. And this includes, like I said, Google University. I think Google is always a great first start because it
Yes,
just
it
kind of,
is.
it just gets you, I mean, obviously that's not going to be your one-stop
Of
shop, but like
course.
it will take you to where you need to go. Also, like I said, join some meetups and incubators within, whatever, your industry is, because people just have a wealth of knowledge. I went to an incubator. It was literally one meeting, and I learned a few, I grabbed onto a few things that was said that I actually truly needed when I finally had the conversation, with the buyers at MGM. So sometimes it's just like you'll get what you need in like just like small bites, and but that comes from like immersing yourself in the industry and just being around people who've been doing it for a while. I would also say I learned that you know stay true to to your story. Don't look to the left and the right and try to become some other brand, because you'll always be playing catch up. Like be that brand that people are looking to, and it's not super hard. It just comes from just staying true to like why you started the company. um People can see and feel authenticity, so remaining true and just kind of like honing in on why you started and what it is that you're doing, is really going to be what sells you to some of these companies. And then the third thing is to not think small. Like look at yourself as a brand who's worthy of being in these stores, whether it's big box or mid-level. Like like a MGM is more mid-level compared to like a Nordstrom or Bloomingdale's. And then they're smaller, like boutique styles, but mid-level is a great entry point, and it gains you leverage when trying to get into big box stores like like Nordstrom's, Bloomingdale's, or Macy's. But just like going in and using what you have. So for me, and I'll just give you guys a quick crash course of how I got into MGM.
Yes, please do.
I simply just I looked at my situation. I looked at what I had to offer, and I looked at what they had going on. So for those who don't know, MGM recently built about a year ago. They put an MGM casino and resort in Prince George's County, Maryland. I'm born and raised in Prince George's County, Maryland. I'm a product of Prince George's County Public Schools, and I went on to to college for a few years, but I'm back here in Prince George's County. And as they were putting the the MGM up, I just I kept telling myself, like I see these constructions like going up every day, and there's somebody on the other end like benefiting, and this person probably doesn't even live in this area. It's probably some guy in his office that hasn't even seen the location until the ribbon cutting ceremony. And I was just like, if they have a men's store in there or some sort of retail, like I think that I should be a part of it. So when they finally opened in December of 2000, I think it was December of 2016. I went and I saw that they had a menswear store. So immediately I went home. I crafted up a letter. At this point I didn't even know who the buyer was, but I crafted up a letter to whoever this person was, and I signed my name, and then I got a watch, and I put the watch nicely, put it in a nice little box, wrapped it, and I went back to the menswear store, and I asked to speak to the manager. A few minutes go by, the manager finally comes out, and I'm like, I love this store. I love what you guys are doing here. And then I just started like asking about like some of the products that they had, and just asking about how some of the sales were going and things like that. Didn't really make mention of the the watches just yet. Came back again, that just kind of showing that getting that that facial recognition, building some sort of trust, because you can't always ask for everything in one meeting or one encounter. So I was just like, she's like, I see you in here, and I see you in here like quite often. I'm like, yeah, I'm like just curious, like who is responsible for like these beautiful products that you guys have in the store, like who makes these decisions? And she was like, oh yeah, that's just our buyer out of Las Vegas. She was like, I could, she's like, what? Do you have like a product or something? And I was like, yes, yes I do. I was like, is there a way that you could possibly give me that that buyer's information? She gave me the buyer's information. I finally filled that name into my to the spaces in my letter, wrapped it up and sent it off to Vegas. Probably months went by, and I didn't hear anything, and I'm just like, I sent a couple
Wait,
emails.
pause. You sent a physical letter, not an email.
Yes, a physical letter along with my watch.
I love that.
And months went by, I didn't hear anything. I sent a couple follow-up emails, nothing. And I'm just like, of course you get that feeling of like, well, I guess it just didn't work out. And then, one day she calls me and she's like, hi, this is Marcel. And I'm like, yes, who is this? And then, she said her name. And I'm like, hey, how are you? She's like, hey, how are you? I'm like, great. And she's telling me, she's like, I got the watch. I love the watch you've made. You've made a beautiful watch. She was like, unfortunately, I'm not going to be, and her voice kind of changed. She's like, unfortunately, I'm no longer the buyer there, and I'm moving to a different position in the company. So I'm not the person that you need to speak to. And then her voice goes back up. She's like, I gave the watch to, to my colleague. She loves it as well, and she wants to have a conversation. So when I finally got the opportunity to have the meeting with her, I just pitched her. I said, look, you guys, I know you have, tons of different menswear stores from the research that I've done, in different locations, and they're typically on the West Coast. And I know that this is a new market, and unlike those places on the West Coast, this is an area where people are not necessarily visiting Prince George's County. There's going to be a lot of traffic from people locally. So I'm like, I have a pretty decent, following and customer base within this area, and they love to to be able to interact with the watches in person. So I'm like, let's try this thing out and see if we can't get some sold. And it'd also be a good sale, since your salespeople are on commission, to be able to pitch this small business or locally owned business that's sitting right here in the front of your store. And so does that sound good to you? And she was like, I think it sounds great. Let's give it a run. So we went through the formalities of like filling out vendor information, talk back and forth a bit about logistics, and then they began carrying the pieces. So
Wow.
So it paid off.
I love that story, and I love that you did old school. Like you sent your product with a mail and with a letter instead of the traditional we've been accustomed to now more often. So it's send an email. And I think buyers so often get emails, and sometimes they don't see them. They go to junk, or sometimes they get the same. Sometimes I think the average is probably 10 to 20 pitches per day, based on an average buyer. So that could easily be lost. So the fact that you sent your tangible product for them to hold, see, like, and begin to love, and even though it took months, you still were persistent, because guys, it doesn't take overnight for most. Some, yes. But for most, it doesn't take overnight. You have to be persistent. You have to get to know that buyer, have them like you. And another great point that you made was, you didn't just show up and say, hey, I have this amazing product, take me on. You built a relationship with them, and you finessed them. So I love that. I love that. So automation has given us hands-free, innovative approach to systemizing our business processes to save time and make more money. What are your top 5 automated processes in your business today to enhance productivity and increase revenue?
I would say definitely number 1. So I just recently got away from MailChimp and moved to Infusionsoft.
Ooh, big boy.
Yeah, Infusionsoft is a whole different, for those who are, into like funnels and CRM and understand that whole thing, like it's just a different animal. Like it is, I mean, you're touching the customer so many times, and only having to do that work, a couple of times. Like you're not every day, you're not sending out these emails. It's like it has intelligence essentially. Like, it knows when to reach out to people. So that's number one. I would say that Trello is a good one. This is not in any particular order after that one. Trello is a project management, software. It automates, like your project flows and stuff like that. So if you have a particular thing, or even like what I'm doing right now, we're planning the launch event for for MGM, the official launch event for MGM. February 10th. So, using Trello to kind of make sure that I'm doing, everything that needs to, to get done leading up to the event. Let's see. What other software? I am considering getting like the chat bots that kind of communicate with the customer. I have not invested in that yet, but I'm still kind of getting some feedback and information on that. And I would say that's pretty much it as far as automation is concerned. I mean, obviously there are other like subscriptions, but more so.
I love those top three. So you just said you switched from MailChimp, which is like, I think most people are using that as like, and then you switched to Infusionsoft. How, has that been good? Like, is it super easy to set up or?
Yeah, it's not, I'm not going to say it's super easy to set up, but I think just kind of, you just have to spend time with it. But the results are like, I mean, you look at it as like, you essentially are able to like tailor your CRM. So MailChimp, I don't think can even necessarily, I'm not gonna say it can't be called that, but you build a relationship, by providing what people want and need based off of what they're telling you they want and need. So, certain platforms like MailChimp don't necessarily allow you to do that. It's just like this goes to everybody. Everything goes to everybody, as opposed to, hey, this person was checking out this black watch, and they've shown like a consistent interest in this black watch. Let's send them something personalized that talks about why this black watch is something that they need to purchase in their near future. So it just has a lot more of a customization piece to it.
I love that. And now we're going to go into the fun round. So I'm going to ask you some fun questions now. We did all the business stuff. I hope you guys got a lot of tips. I even learned a few things myself, so that was great. So now the fun question. Who is your favorite entrepreneur?
My favorite entrepreneur? Wow, that's a really good question. I have two that I admire evenly, and it's Damon John and Jay-Z. And the reason that those two are like my favorite entrepreneurs is because they come from like a similar background, like not necessarily having everything, and really just showing tremendous growth like over the course of of their life, and adopting mentors and essentially doing whatever it took to to get to that next level, and then still being 20 plus years later into their careers still being relevant with even our youth. So I like the sustainability of each of those entrepreneurs.
And they're both from Brooklyn. Brooklyn in the house.
They're both from Brooklyn, yeah. Yep.
Well, I think that my next question was going to be your latest business win, which I guess that was MGM. Your favorite business tool that you cannot live without.
Favorite business tool. That's a tough one. I would say, now I would say Infusionsoft.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is the last book you read?
The last book I read, so I'm one of those people. So I'm on a mission to read, 60 books this year, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you saw, but I also recently did a challenge, probably a couple months ago, toward the end of last year. We were doing like a 30-day book challenge, a different book every day. Not necessarily reading the entire book, but some shorter books we read the entire book, but most of them it was just a certain amount of chapters within that book. But we were I presented like a different idea each day. So right now I'm currently reading 3 books, and I'm finishing up those 3 books. So, and that's start with why. And you'll find that a lot of things that I said today actually came from from that book. I'm also finishing a book called Crypto Assets, which is obviously a book that dives into the crypto currency world, not just for the investor, but for entrepreneurs watching this. Is very important to also understand everything that's changing around you, because everything that's changing also impacts your business. So even, learning that at some point you'll need to, start accepting these currencies, on your e-commerce sites or your merchant services. You just got to kind of, stay in the know of what's going on around you. And the third book is called the unconscious, or the unconscious universe. And it's just kind of talking about how like what you hear a lot of speakers kind of saying in their in their material, that your thoughts are like, they're not things to be taken lightly. They're actually like physical things. And you can essentially like build the life that you want to build, just thinking the right way. So those are my 3 books. They're all exciting books. I definitely recommend anybody that's trying to grow in their business to like keep reading like as much as you can. It for me, like it helps out a lot with with networking, or even doing things like like this podcast, like just always having something valuable to contribute to conversation can help out a lot, and just leveraging and meeting the right people, which will ultimately improve your business.
I love it. Innovate or die.
Absolutely.
I love it. So thank you so much for being on my podcast. I really appreciate it. We've learned a lot, and I've definitely learned a lot that I'll be executing in my business. Please let the audience know where they can find you.
You guys can find me firstly at our website, which is bensonwatch.com, BENSON watch.com. Also on Instagram at Bensonwatch, and on Facebook, the Bensonwatch Company.
I love it. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Hey guys, let's give a quick thanks to our sponsor, Dreams Inspire Reality. Are you unsure of the steps needed to turn your dreams into reality? Have you been sitting on that product idea and not sure how to bring it to market? We've successfully launched tons of products and distribute all over the globe. Let us help you get unstuck and take your idea to market with strategic advice and practical steps. Schedule a consultation today at dreamsinspirereality.com. Thanks for listening to the Dreams Inspire Reality podcast. I hope you receive some practical steps and tips you can begin implementing and executing today. If you like the show, do me a favor and subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes. You can find us online at dreamsinspirereality.com and also across all social media platforms at Dreams Inspire Reality. Let us know how you enjoyed this episode. Until next time, dream big and execute hard.
Dreams inspire reality.